Good rowdy day, folks. Ross's Rowdy Bees here, out here on a bee removal job. See if I can get this on, get this camera adjusted a little bit. So we've got bees going into the brick right in here and right in here. You know, not one of my favorite spots to remove bees as far as it being brick, but at the same time, we're not up 25 feet off the ground risking our lives either. A couple tools I've got here. I've got my hammer, my chisel. First thing I'm going to try to do is basically just chisel that mortar out. See if we can go that way. If I need some hardcore grinding going on, I've got this. This is a beast. This grinder here with a concrete blade on it. So what I'll do is I'll get started on knocking that mortar out and trying to pull those bricks out, salvaging as much brick as possible. Then we'll come back and we'll do the repairs, but I'll take some photos, some more video along the way. Stay tuned. Yeah, the one reason why I like to use the chisel here is just because, well, one, it's just a little bit easier to work with. Second, if you're using the grinder, it's going to throw a lot of dust and that, you know, mortar and stuff in the air. It's going to get in there on the comb, you know, contaminate the honey if there is some honey in there. So we want to, you know, take the least messy way possible, you know, if it will work, and just kind of go from there. What I've done is I started chiseling out around the entrance where they're going in right here. Like I said, we've also got an entrance down here at the bottom, and I'm hitting on that old gray looking mortar. It's a lot easier to get out of there. You know, it does take some work, but it crumbles much easier than, you know, newer mortar would. Anyway, we'll check back in here in a bit. All right, so we've got about 9-10 bricks out of there so far, roughly. We know that it's at least expanding down here. Now again, I'm not using a heat imaging camera on this, so basically we've got an entrance here and we had an entrance up here, so we know that the comb is at least down to here, most likely where they're going in, and it's already going up a little over a foot right here where I've got it open. So there's a pretty good sized hive in there, as you can tell. Now we've got to be careful here because we don't want to jeopardize the integrity of the structure here, this big brick post, more than we have to. I mean, depending on what we continue to find as I go around here, I mean, we've got a couple options. One option would be to just take out enough brick where I can reach in there and pull out the comb. And another option is, if the homeowner doesn't care that the entire brick post come down and be rebuilt, that's another option. But I'm sure they would probably go for the first option. Anyway, we're going to continue to work on this, gradually removing a few more bricks and see what we have. We'll be back. But something I want to point out here is down here, down here, right in here, at the bottom here, we're seeing eggs. So ideally, as we move up, we should begin to see honey. All right, because the eggs of the hive in the warmer months are going to be stored down at the bottom of the hive. The honey is going to be stored up at the top. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So we've got our eggs and stuff down here, and I've hit a little bit of honey up here. at the top. All right, so that's, and if you were to look in, you know, in a Langstroth hive, and you've got 2 tiers to that hive, you're going to see the honey being stored up top, and the eggs and the brood, all that good stuff in the bottom. All right, we'll be back with you. All right, so I've done some more work. As you can see here, basically just been playing a fun game of Jenga. There we go. But really just focusing on the corner here, just to get an idea of how far the hive goes up within the post here. The post is about 8 foot tall. And I would say, from what I'm seeing now, at least 6 foot of it is filled with bees and comb. So this hive has been here for some time. All up here at the very top, you know, I'd say probably a good 3 foot, 3.5 foot is honey, and then you've got another 3 foot, maybe 2.5 foot of brood, eggs, all that good stuff. So, you know, gonna start vacuuming some of these bees out, maybe pull a few more bricks off, and see if we can start tearing out some of this comb and honey. Anyway, we'll be back with you shortly. All right, folks, so what I'm going to start doing now is just vacuuming these up a little bit, so I can kind of get in there and get the comb. I'm going to try just pulling the comb out gradually and carefully without tearing this whole pillar down. I've got my bee vac here, so you know, nothing special here. Just you know, 2 5-gallon buckets, a bucket head, and a couple of hoses, some duct tape. Got some PVC pipe with some holes in it in the blue bucket over there. Nothing special, gets the job done, nothing fancy. But anyway, we'll start vacuuming up those bees, and we'll cut back in here in a little bit. We'll see you in a bit. So when you're vacuuming, here, or with any hive really, you're taking the bees off the comb, basically you get to a point to where you just have comb. All the bees will kind of run back to the back of the hive. Well, what you can do is take a little bit of a break, and those bees will gather back onto the comb, because that comb has eggs and brood, larvae, all that good stuff. And the bees instinct is to nurture the brood and the larvae and take care of it. So once you get some vacuumed off, just wait a few minutes, and you know, before you know it, you'll have comb full of bees again. You can vacuum some more. Kind of time consuming to do it that way, but when you're doing it like this in a brick pillar, it can definitely be beneficial. Anyway, we'll be back with you. All right, folks, so I'm basically pulling out this comb now, and then I'm just rubber banding the comb into the empty frame here. So if you can kind of see that, not sure where the camera's at, but hopefully you can see that. Anyway, you know, I'm trying to salvage as much comb as possible in there, and vacuuming bees up as I go. I took a lot of bees out first. Now I'm pulling out the comb. Something else I did was I'm taking out the brood chamber where all the larvae and eggs and everything are. I'm taking that out first. Remember, the honey's up top, so what I didn't want to do was start pulling that honey out, and then that honey starts running down all over the bees. you know, honey-coated bees just don't move around like uncoated bees do, if you will. So anyway, I'm gonna finish sticking this comb in this frame here. I'm still looking for the queen as I go. I mean, I've got such a tight area to work with there. It'd be kind of difficult to see the queen, but you know, if I don't see her, hopefully I'll get her vacuumed up and put her in this box. Anyway, stay tuned. We'll be back with you in a bit. Hey folks, well, I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I did making it. There are a few parts in there where yeah, the bee suit was getting in the way of the camera. Might have to take a look at some different ways of doing that. But you know, just remember when you're doing a bee removal, there's really no big rush. You want to make sure that you're taking your time, because if you don't, you can find yourself doing a lot more work than what you need to do. And look at, you know, as you're working, look at the overall layout of the hive to determine how you're going to remove it. You know, one of the clips in the video, I talked about removing the comb before the honey, so that the honey wouldn't drip down onto the bees. You know, it's things like that will, you know, save you some heartache as you're doing your bee removals. You know, the other thing I mentioned was pulling out the comb. So when I pulled out the comb, you know, the comb was much longer than the frames. So basically what I had to do is I had to cut those combs down so that they would fit into the frames. And I did that as I was removing it from the brick pillar there. You know, I'd go up to my highest point that I could, and then I'd take my hive tool and I would just cut through that comb, and you know, that cut it down to size where it would fit in my frame. Anytime that you can salvage part of the hive, such as the comb, you know, it's going to put you a few steps ahead. You know, that's comb that those bees will not have to rebuild. I'll put a, you know, what I did is I put them into a 10 frame deep. There were enough bees to fill a deep, and stuck those frames of comb in there, so now they can go ahead and utilize that comb and then continue to build comb where the spaces are. But have fun with it. You know, I really enjoyed this bee removal. I've spent so much time on a ladder, you know, pretty high up, that it was nice to be on the ground. But no doubt this was a, you know, very labor intensive bee removal. A lot of work went into it. You know, this is where the beekeeper, the bee removal guy says, you know, this is a service. I'm providing a service, and I'm putting in 110% when I do it, and a lot of passion going into it as well, to make sure that the bees are being cared for along the way. Anyway, you know, again, I hope you guys liked the video. I'm starting to do more videos, trying to build up you know, the YouTube channel a little bit here and there, but I hope you find something new in each video, maybe something that you've taken away from it. Please share, like, and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. Anyway, y'all have a rowdy day. This is Ross's Rowdy Bees. We'll see you later.